All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. So today, fine. Now I'm not going to cover all aspects of. Hang on, where am I? Can I see myself yet? I can't. Hang on. Here we go. All right. It's always clunky when I start. All right, so I'm going to do a basic service on this. As I said, I'm not going to cover all aspects because there's so many ways you could go, and you could go so deep into checking certain things, and it's not financially viable, you know. So you just got to check the basics, and if you want to go further, you let the customer know you want to go further, or you know, there'll be other things you can do to check whatever items. For example, handbrake shoes. You know, every service you're not going to pull the rear calipers off, pull the drums off, or the rotors off, and check the handbrake shoes. You'll do that on a wheel bearing service, unless the customer requests that or requests a handbrake adjustment, because a lot of people just wind up the handbrake and off you go, whereas you can adjust it properly at the shoes, and that's the best way to do it. So this particular ute is just a naturally aspirated 1HZ, pretty stock, very stock. It has a terrain tamer heavy duty radiator and our upgrade kit in it, dual batteries. It's had new hoses by the look of it at some point. 2-inch lift, you know. Other than that, it's pretty stock. So this will be relevant to anyone with a 75, 78. Look, even a V8 driveline checking is pretty much going to be the same. I like to do my up top checks last. I do my underbody stuff first, so that way if I need parts, I can order my parts, and then while I'm waiting for those parts, I can bring it down and do all my fluids and stuff up top. Because if you start up top first, you spend all that time mucking around, and then you put it up in the air and go, oh, I need pads. And then you've got nothing else to do while you're waiting for your pads to turn up. So what we normally do is bring your car and you do a light check. So you check your parkers, indicators, high beams, low beams, light bar. Make sure the light bar flicks on and off on its own switch. Wiper blades, horn. Anything in the cab you might notice. You know, fraying seatbelt, globes out on the dashboard. Just little imperfections if you need to. You just note it down. Doesn't have to do anything about it, but it is good just to note it down. That way it's recorded. You know, chips in the windscreen. You know, hasn't had a service for X, Y, Z kilometres. You can tell by the old sticker, or you know, just anything that's out of the ordinary. I'm going to put this up in the air now. I've already got it set up, and we'll go from there. I can answer questions and things as well. Is my audio good? I think it's good. Out of the ordinary. Yeah, it is. Great. Now, everything that I'm doing now is achievable on the ground. I'm just making my life easier by doing it on the hoist. If you haven't got a hoist, you just jack the car up off the ground, and first thing you do is remove the front wheels. But before you remove the front wheels, we want to check to make sure we have any wheel bearing play up and down, and steering play left and right. That will determine whether we have tie rod issues, drag link, relay rod ends, all that sort of stuff, or wheel bearings. You don't usually get wheel bearings. You know, this can be a, I'm trying to think of the word now. wrong. It'll give you the wrong indication of what's wrong. You can't get any steering play up and down. Or if you've got, you know, swivel hub bearing movement. This feels good. Now, you gotta be careful sometimes too, because you've got so many points of contact under here. Actually, I'll do that when it's up in the air, but actually, no, I won't. I'll do it now. So, you know, you've got, start around the back. So when I'm moving it left to right, this is the first point of contact. That runs all the way across to the other side, and then transfers through to this end, all the way to your steering box. So you've got all that movement to there and across to the back to have play in. So sometimes something will feel like a lot, it's actually not much, or it could just be that general movement that it has, and you know, it's all relative. So this is what we call your relay rod, and that one at the back is your tie rod. So they're tie rod ends, tie rod, relay rod ends, pitman arm, steering box. Now, I'll get this wheel off. Now, usually if you bash a socket in here, you're going to hurt your cap. So you just get a giant screwdriver and leave it off. No. Get a rag. Hang on. I need my visual phone helping me out here. So I can make sure that I'm showing you the right thing. So I have these little points here. I don't know if there's one or two. Yeah, there's two. So either way, you just put your screwdriver in there with a rag, gentle pop, and that cap will come off. Like so. And I've showed you one, so I'm not going to show you all of them with such, you know, in-depth detail, but you got the idea. 22mm socket on a 79, 21 on a 75 from memory. Oh, one thing I forgot. So doing this on the fly too is going to be tricky. Anything that runs a needle roller swivel hub, but look, do it with any, because you don't know. What I like to do is lock in your hub. Here, lock in, you click, click, and then spin the wheel, and that will determine whether you have noisy spindle bearings, whether it's wear on the CV itself or if it's noisy bearings. Usually you can hear it as you spin the wheel, it'll sort of brrr. That's not too bad. I don't know whether that's, it's got drilled and slotted rotors. I don't know if that's the pad on the rotor itself. I think it is. Now, normally we re-grease the spindles every time you do a wheel bearing service. You don't have to do it every service, otherwise you know. It depends. If you do a lot of four-wheel driving, then yeah. So a lot of people look at that aspect of things. When you look at the manual, it'll say normal conditions. And normal conditions are your regular road going conditions, but people don't realise severe. They think, oh, severe, I don't do anything severe. Severe could be driving it, 5,000 Ks out of that 10,000 K service in four-wheel drive. And it doesn't have to be hardcore four-wheel driving, it could just be off-road. But that could still be a severe condition because your front end's getting all that use that it normally doesn't have, and they don't factor that into your 10,000 K service. So if you do operate four-wheel drive a lot more, that could be classified as severe use. G'day, Doris Connors. Hi. All right, so let me grab a lead light. Oh, look, it's not flat. Happy days. So first thing we want to look at, general condition of your rotor. Looks good, no major lips. Pad wear. There's a wear indicator on your pad down there. You can see the material. Let me see if I can get a better. So the material is more than backing plate thickness. So that's your wear indicator. It's really hard to do with two hands. That's your wear indicator just here. So once the material gets to backing plate thickness, we normally report, because you've only got a service or so left. I'm just reading Doris's comment. Looks less than that thing. I feel like this was a camera. I look like it was a little. I'm not sure what you mean, sorry. So while you're here, you can also look at the back of the caliper. Heaps of meat left on those pads, which is what we want to, what you want to see. You want to look for oil leaks. You want to look for shock absorber leaks. You want to look at shock bushes, upper and lower. You want to check your brake line hoses. So as they get old and perished, you give them a push on this corner here, and you see any sort of perished cracks here, that's due for a replacement. These are in good nick. You want to check to make sure your steering stops are actually on the car. We will grease those. Check for swivel hub leaks or sweats. Look, that's just grease and that's completely normal. But we will go up and look at more of this sort of stuff. You just want to assess everything in this area. Bump stop condition, anything that's visible around here that could be a problem. Now on some other models of car, they like to suffer from steering box cracks on the chassis. This is a really dry steering box actually, this is great. And panhard cracks. This is in really good nick. You can usually tell there'll be telltale signs all around here or around here. But that's in really good nick, which is great. And then you do the same thing with the rear. So what I'll do on this particular car, I'll just do one side, and I can do the other side later, but at least this just gives you an idea of what we're doing. Oh, no worries, TWGS. Appreciate that, thank you. Now, let me see if I can plop yours up without falling over. Great, all right. So I'll do the same thing we did on the front. We'll get our cap removal tool. Anyone that's just tuning in, we're just doing a service, basic service, nothing special. The standard service, anyone can do at home, in their driveway. Now I probably should add, required for this service, you're going to need a filter kit. You can buy it on my website. And that usually comes with fuel filter, air filter, oil filter, cabin filter if it's required, service sticker, sun plug washer. And that website is cms4x4.com.au. G'day, Nadish. Now, also while you're in the vicinity of, taking these wheels off, you want to just check your tyres as well. Rough spots, low spots, high spots. You can do a quick spin over, make sure there's no screws in the tyre, anything like that. We will do tyre pressures and inspect the tyres, but some services don't, you don't even need to take the wheels off if you're confident, but not knowing, what this car's been up to, it's best to check everything. All right, it's got airbags. Airbags are starting to perish. So on our job card or our list, we'll just write, airbags starting to perish. Don't have to do anything about it, just make it known. Now, I'm trying to find the best. The rear pads are starting to get a bit low. It's still seeing there. They got no, there's a bit left on the inside of that one. The outer pad. It's hard to see because I'm trying to do both. Might be okay. No, outer pad's got heaps. It's just a bit hard sometimes juggling. So here, all I would note down is a bit of corrosion around that hub, which could make it difficult to get the rotor off down the track. It's not a major issue. The airbag, we'll go up and we'll check the suspension bushes and whatnot. But everything else in this sort of vicinity is fine. We're mainly here just to check our brakes. You have got a little telltale hole here. You could check your handbrake material on, and that's going to be too hard to show through the camera. But if you do get your little torch in through there, you can sometimes just see your handbrake shoe material. It'll give you an indication where you're at. I'm just going to go up and do stage 2. And just while you're walking around, anything you notice is always a good thing to just note down, write down. Always looking around, looking at stuff. Now what I normally do, before I do my inspection, I'll get the oil draining. So that way, my oil's draining whilst I'm doing other productive activities. So I was going to put this here. Now pretty much every Toyota has a 14mm sump plug. I just noticed a drop of oil on the ground. I think it's actually coming from the rocker cover because it's dry underneath the car, but it's running down the back of the bell housing. Now I think if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I always say when you undo your sump plug, always keep your spanner with the sump plug. And when that spanner goes away, when the sump plug's tightened up, the spanner goes away. That way, if you see a spanner lying around anywhere, I always have to go back and recheck it. That's just a rule of thumb that I've always done and I was taught. So if that spanner's out, you've got to recheck it. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep until I know. Now, it's always good practice to change the sump plug washer. It does come in the filter kits. Now while that's draining, that's when I like to do my check, because if I do need to order parts or whatever, I can order those parts, and then whilst I'm waiting for those parts, I can do things like check other fluid levels and all that jazz. So start at the front. You know, nothing really, we'll grease those, but nothing really sort of, you know, you can put down your, give them a wipe. There's no real leakage or anything like that. That swivel hub's probably just grease that's come out over time that hasn't been wiped up, because there's no visual leaks or drops underneath. It's more just grease, and that grease is fresh moly. So I'd say it's just squeezed out of the seals after its initial rebuild, and it's, well, I know this was rebuilt, but yeah, it squeezes out and then it just stays there. So if you actually wiped it up, it'll probably be fine. And that wetness you're seeing is just the oil component of the grease coming out, not actually worn out. Now this is panhard bar. You want to check your panhard bushes to make sure your panhard bushes are not cracked, perished, have any signs of wear. You can, this will be really hard with one hand, again. One moment, you can get yourself a pry bar. And once I figure it out with one hand, and give it a gentle pry, and see if you got any movement in the bush left to right, because that's very common in the 78, 79 series. Now that's obviously not going to, it's pulled as far as it can go that way. We need to go that way. I'm just trying to do this one hand, which is really hard. So another thing you do on the ground if you've got two people is you can push the car side to side and have someone just hold their finger on the panhard bar, and you actually feel the bush moving if it has wear. But a lot of the steering shakes you get out of these cars is from the panhard bar. Might have to get a different pry bar. This one might be a bit big for my application. Oh. That one's okay. Oh, burning elbow. Now any steering play, if you do have it, with your left and rights, if you want to know how to check like a tie rod, if you have tie rod play, you can always hold your hands tight on here, and like relay rods, tie rod, same deal. Any left and right movement, you'll be able to feel in here. Now, if it's wheel bearing, you can usually feel in the rotor back there, if you hold your fingers on it as someone's giving it that lateral movement, you feel like a do, 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 do. If you don't feel it there, but you still have lateral movement, you can feel in here, and you'll feel the swivel hub move. Let's peel that out of the way. You feel it move here, and that'll give you a do, do, do as well. Both sides are the same. I need to change my glove, hang on. Got dirty my hands. I'm gonna take my jumper off. One moment, please. Now that said, like, it's really hard to do this on the fly. It's not pre-recorded or pre-made, so it's hard to remember everything sort of on the fly, because like normally when you do your service, you do your normal stuff, and then you go, oh, I forgot to check this, or I forgot to check that, or I didn't do this. Whereas now I'm trying to rack my brain as I'm going through it to keep it spot on for everyone. Anyone go to the four-wheel drive show this weekend in Melbourne? All right, so caster bushes, 75s don't have this. You want to make sure inside your caster bushes you don't have any cracks or wear. Now I know these things aren't that old, but you can usually tell they'll start spewing out bits of the rubber. And you've got one at the front, one at the back on each arm. You can also get a bar and flex them. Make sure your shocks aren't leaking. There's their oil leak coming out front and top. We'll inspect that in a second. You know, sway bar D bushes, a bit of a gap at the top there. But some do once it's, you probably find it's got no movement. It's generally acceptable. It's when they start squishing out everywhere. Or that there. See, it's got like it's got a rust telltale. That could be because it's been moving a little bit. But it's not flogged out. It just has a little bit of wear in it. And those cracks there, I think they're the surface cracks because it's a poly bush. Unless it's starting to fall apart. So you could put down, you know, sway bar bushes starting to perish. There's your little front cotton reel sway bar bushes. Same deal, you get your fry bar in at the front there. Any sort of play, that would deem them to be worn. Let me see if I can get a thing on that to show you. There they be like. Very, very small amount. So you could also put down sway bar bushes, you know, all sway bar bushes starting to perish. Chassis to diff brake hose. We want to do that flex test. Both ends. Just because it's rusty doesn't mean that it's worn out. Oh, there you go, Mr. McCaffrey. Great minds think alike. So a lot of people go, oh, rear main's leaking, but it's actually not. This, inspect up high, see it's wet all out there. That's because the rock cover's leaking. I noticed before, which we'll have to check when we go down. Oh, is that a Huntsman? There's two hiding in there. So that ball jointy thing there is your sway bar link. It has a ball joint on it, which 75s do not have. So we can, let's put this back so I can give it a bit of a flex test. And if there is any wear, I can show you. But it's just really hard to get this stuff. Oh, he's alive too. What a place to live. Come here, mate. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, now he's in the car. I was trying to rescue him, but it didn't work. All right, and then we've got universal joints, front diff pinion. So what we want to do here, I'll see if I can. Actually, let me get you guys on a magnet. Sorry, it's really hard to check things one-handed. Sorry. Joys of live videos. Trying to get you the best position so you can see what I'm talking about. This should do it, I think. And there's a sway bar in the way. All right, hang on, I think we got this. Maybe not. Come on. All right, yes, here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. This is your diff pinion, pinion flange, front uni joint, which we'll grease. Now what we want to do is make sure we have no play in the pinion, which is up and down. And also we want to grab our uni joint to make sure we don't have any sideways movement. That noise there is just the slight bit of backlash in the front diff. It's nothing to worry about. So front uni's good. Then we want to do the same thing with the rear uni. We also want to check our slip joint, which is just here. We just want to give that a bit of a up and down. There's a tiny little bit of movement, but you'll find that'll disappear when it's got grease in it. Now, if I just swap sides, how are we going to do this one? Mr. D. All right, so. Where are we? Yeah, if you watch this later, you can always fast forward it. Actually, you know what? One moment, please. I forgot. I did this last time. Did this last time. There we go. All right. Bloody, look at that. See that? Yeah, all right. So this is the front tail shaft, rear uni. We're going to do the same thing, up and down. Now we want to make sure there's no play in the transfer case front output bearing. There is a slight bit of play. And what I'm trying to determine here, whether my up and down play is
in the bearing here or in the uni here. So what I want to do is, where are you? Where there? Look at that. All right, so I've got the slightest bit of up and down. So I'm going to stick my finger behind this dust shield. Now I can't feel anything there, so that movement is going to be a mystery. No. Sometimes it's a bit hard to. Oh no, it is. It's just a little bit of play in that front tail shaft output bearing. Only slightly. Sometimes if it's in a uni, you'll find the grease will take it up. Now, because we're on the topic of tail shafts, we'll do the rear one as well. Oh, look at that. Heaps good. Give me some light. I know it's not the best images, but you get an idea of what's going on. So same deal, transfer case, output shaft bearing, output shaft seals dry, great. No movement there. Always rotate just so you can get the different, because the universal joint's two cross, like it's a cross, so you want to make sure you got both sets of bearings, one either side of the little needle rollers inside the uni joint. That's good, that's no movement at all, even in the slip joint. All right, now, some people might go, oh, what's this around here on the rear diff? Now, that, to me, I would just be saying that is residual grease, like the oil in the grease. There's no leak coming out of the pinion seal, because normally that would run down here. So that wouldn't bother me too much. Or, in other cases, it can be the oil's coming up the pinion shaft, past the nut, and then leaking into this bit here and coming out. Now that could be the case, but there's no signs of oil anywhere else. It's just a sweat, it's just a slight sweat. So that wouldn't be too concerning for me at all. So we want to do the same thing, up and down. That's got a slight, but I think it's in the uni joint, not the bearing. And that'll just be because of grease. So now we're back here. We can throw some grease in the unis. I always wipe the grease nipple. That way when you put the tool on it, it's not going to push dirty crap inside your universal joint. So I'll just grab the grease gun. Now we also want to do our slip joint. Oh, that one's going to be tricky. Some uni joints can be an absolute pain in the bum. And I think I did that on a video years ago. You have to pull the tail shaft out to do them. It's just the way the uni is. Or, you know, undo that particular uni so you can get enough flex to Yeah, this uni joint's a bit loose. Am I going blind? Or is this tail shaft? Have no slip joint grease nipple. Strange. I'm just having a look here. I can't for the life of me see any grease point on the tail shaft slip joint. Oh, there it is. Sorry, my bad. Wow, disguised by the dust. I was looking in the wrong spot. There we go, right there. Okay, we'll grab our grease gun. Now you can buy super cheap grease guns. You can buy, just these old school very handy piece of equipment to have. But I gave up using those years ago. All right. Now usually when you're greasing the slip joint, you want to just enough just to see the slip joint start to move. That's it. You don't want to go too hard, otherwise it can cause vibrations in the driveline because it pushes that tail shaft out and it has no room to slip in and out. Now I don't know if we'll get this one. It's going to be a pain in the bum. Sometimes when you are doing these, you have to rotate the tail shaft around at an appropriate angle just so you can get your tool in, which is usually in the up position. And if I can't, I'll have to undo the front of the tail shaft. And when you're greasing unis, it's usually just a couple of pumps until you start hearing the air cracking out of the uni itself. Or, sometimes you see water and all sorts of stuff come out of these. Now I'm either missing that and it's making a massive mess, or it's got no grease in it. But I'm going to say I've done the first one. Yeah, so what happens is if you miss it and it doesn't go on properly, it just starts spewing grease out everywhere else. And sometimes you can't see it, so you don't know until you already made a massive mess. I might have to pull this out. I'll change my gloves and I'll show you what I'm doing. You guys can see much better than what I can. So what I'm trying to do here is get my grease gun fitting into that spot. There's the slip joint nipple there. And sometimes it's just a bit tricky. And I've seen other places in the past, they go, oh, it's too hard, and they just leave it, which is not the best practice. And it's hard because sometimes I need two hands to put the gun on, but there's not enough room. So I can borrow this part of this. It falls on me, great grease anyway. It's just not enough space. So if you turn the tail shaft, give it a bit more open. But it's just not, no. Why is it always the quickest videos you think will be the biggest pain in the ass? So that's just made a massive mess in behind here again. So the only way to get this off, or to degrease this properly, is by undoing those, pop the tail shaft off, flex that uni right out of the way, and get the grease gun on it. But I'll save that. Oh, I'm going to save that for tomorrow because it's otherwise we're going to be for ages. All right, so there's our back one. The back one's opposite. Back one is underneath. Top. It's widest position. Hopefully we get the nice crack that I was trying to talk about before. Or not. Make a liar of me. I might actually try the other grease gun if this coupler's not playing ball. Maybe. There we go, crack. Now, I'll show you. Normally it'd be like a little glistening. I have to do a glove change a few times, I reckon. What you'll see that old grease coming out there? That's that crack you want to hear. See, it's on that one too. So the old grease is coming out. New grease is going in. It's exactly what we want. So you want to do that on both tail shafts to get that nice crack happening. Now just for speed, because I just realised this video's already been an hour and I've only got this far into it. It's much faster when you haven't got a video camera. I'll do the front after, but you've got the idea. Same deal. You want to get the grease going on your front tail shaft. Grease it till they crack. Now, we've worked our way down to the gearbox transfer case area. We're checking for leaks, sweats, you know, frayed wires, loose wires, anything that doesn't look right. You got your clutch, slave cylinder here. Usually just peel his boot back, make sure there's no brake fluid in behind the boot. Oh, God. Everything's going to fight me today. Just a little screwdriver. Sort of peel it out. Usually it'll run out, but that's okay. That's the rocker cover leak that's established itself. Transfer case. Now we'll check the fluid levels in a minute. There's your check plug there for the transfer, check plug there for the gearbox. Make sure there's no broken hoses, fittings, wiring. Yeah, it's had cruise control at some point. Check all your hose fittings, your brake proportion valve. This one's needs a wash by the looks of that, but as long as it's not split open, no wetness fluid or anything around it, it's great. Diff breathers. Now the proportioning valve boot here is split on the adjuster arm, and you can buy those kits. This also needs a proportion valve spacer done. Oh, look at that. Airbag's not even working on that particular side. So same deal, I'll check this side, I'll check my pads, I'll check my hose. Shock absorbers, we've done the diff. Someone's had this diff out in the past. Silicone, which I don't like. Get your fuel tanks, make sure you haven't got any fuel leaks, fuel hose, sweats, any sort of wetness, you want to double check. Got grease nipples on our shackle bushes. Shackle bushes actually look really good. You can flex these as well and give them a flex test, but these are like brand new. That one there's got a little bit of movement. Looked like it's been greased for a little while. The parabolic, well, it's lost its bolt at the top. Parabolic slide plastic is obviously coming off, like so that needs to be replaced. And a new bolt, keeper bolt put back through. So it's obviously allowing it to drop too far. See how the spring has gone past where the bolt would, like this one here. Perfect example. So when you check your springs, you want to make sure your pads are in their spots and not moving around. Another good tip I like to look for is park brake stoppers. See the park brake stopper just here is hard up against the backing plate, which is beautiful. If you've got a good handbrake and the park brake stopper's there, that one's missing its boot. And they're at 20 something bucks. They're very expensive, but it's still doing its job and it still looks like it's adjusted mint. Rear diff check, rear diff drain. You want to check your exhaust for leaks, cracks, rubber perish. Come down to your front of your leaf spring, same deal as the rear. Make sure everything looks good, everything's in its right spots. Need to grease the pin. Pin bushes look good. Check your U-bolts, make sure there's no nuts missing, caliper's missing its bleed cap. Shock bushes are smooshed out at the top. Just report on that. Shot pusher's been bashed at the bottom, same as that one. Got a bit of wars in the rear. Other than that, just gonna make sure everything, you know, make sure you haven't got wires hanging out the back of your trail plug. Just, you know, keep an eye out for things that are hanging down, not hanging down. Make sure you got your mud flaps are doing their thing. You know, if you have mud flap missing on one side, I'm sure there'll be things that I'll miss along this inspection, but you've got the idea, right? Front fuel tank, you know, check for any sweats, leaks. Gearbox mount, check your gearbox mount for any signs of perish, cracked rubbers, rub marks. Telltale marks are a great thing to keep an eye out for. Caster bushy at the chassis end. Let's have a look. Let's see. This is hard to see. Up in there. You want to check for cracks where they usually flog out where the bolt goes through, or they'll flog out in the larger section, but usually it's very obvious. You'll see a big crack there. This one's a bit better. See, it's starting to perish, crack in there. Nothing too major. Those little cracks doesn't mean that it's trashed either. It just means that it's got some wear. Don't forget to take your sump plug washer off, replace it. There's the front diff breather. At the top there. Looks like it needs a, hang on. Ugh. Attach the other end of that hose just here. There's a little, I'll have to do it once I do the sump plug up. See, it's shiny now. I've just given it a rub and twisted it and made sure the valve is free, otherwise they can jam up, block, and then push fluid out of your diff. What else are we looking for here? Wiring, cables, earth, some stuff rubbed through there, up there. I don't know what that is. Might need a bit of a tidy up. Engine mounts. Let me just get rid of this oil drainer. Let me do some other stuff. Sorry, it's very difficult to try and do all this with one hand. Who wants to hold my camera for me? Come and be my film person. What am I doing? All right, so we want to get rid of that sump plug washer. Now usually I'll find if you just get a screwdriver, just give it a, great, landed in there. Something went well for me today. Grab myself a new one. I like to use the genuine ones. They're like a aluminium with a like a blue coating. I don't know what the coating is, like a felty sort of material. Oh, this magnet's good. Okay, so now we're back to here. We want to grab the spanner we're going to use. Now it doesn't have to be super tight, but it's going to be firm. So that's finger tight now. I just want to, and then just a, oh shit, it's hard. I need my other hand. One moment. You just want to sort of do it up till it's firm, and then just a little past it. There is a torque spec, I'm sure. Spanner away. That's done. Spanner's done. It's tight. Now what we want to do, I'll put you back on the rolly trolley. Start the rear. 24 mil, single hex socket, nothing else. If you use anything else, you risk stripping the plug. And then that's when you see all the chisel marks and all that sort of stuff. Nice and flat. Oh. Now sometimes they come out straight away, sometimes they do not. This one does not. Now, it might be full, it might be right on that borderline. So what you usually do is get either a screwdriver or a zip tie. Hard to see, but that's spot on. Come on. Spot on. Good fluid. It's full. You don't have to have it so it's oozing out. It just depends on the angle of the car, but that one's okay. Now when I do these back up, because I'm using this extension bar, breaker bar, you don't want to go too hard. You just want to do it up till it's firm. And then just that's it. Now, next we'll go to our transfer case. Around the side there, Mr. Transfer Case. So transfer case fill, transfer case drain. So we want to. Now this is an R151 box, so this usually doesn't suffer from the fluid rolling from the gearbox into the transfer case. Now what I usually do, if it does start to come out, I'll catch it on my hand, so that way I don't have to let it run everywhere. So that there is spotless, nice and clean. I'm going to leave that as it is. It's an indication of a good level and good colour fluid. Oh, that was loud. Same deal as before. You don't want to go too tight on it, it's only aluminium. Now with something like this, even though you give it a wipe, the diff was okay, but the transfer case is a bit different. Just give it a bit of a brake clean, or something you can use to give it a clean off, because what will happen is 10 minutes later it'll slowly run out of the little cracks and crevices there, and you'll think that it's leaking, or someone else will think it's leaking. Bear with me. Move that out of the way now. Where are we? All right, so there's your gearbox. Gearbox fill plug, gearbox drain plug. Now these, all Toyota gearboxes, all I use is a GL4 oil, nothing else. Otherwise you'll end up having shifting issues and all sorts of stuff. I don't care what the Haynes manual says or whatever. Some will say 75/90. GL4 is always the best option. Sorry, 80/90 GL5, I mean. Same deal as the transfer case. If it comes out of here, just a bit of a measure on the hand. And I can already see it's nice and clear and amber, which is the colour of a GL4. wheels before. And with that, yeah, that rear tail shaft, I might have to, when I pull it off, I might even check, see if I can change the uni on it. But for whatever reason, some cars just, it's like the angle they're on, they don't like opening up that much. Doesn't happen very often. And front diff. Front diff fill, front diff drain. Now also, rule of thumb, if you're ever draining, always undo your fill plug first. How many people have undone this first and then got to this point, rounded it off, and then they're stuck with no oil in their diff. It's all right if it's a front diff, you can make sure it's unlocked and do whatever you have to do, but if it's a rear diff, you're in all sorts of strife. And just because it doesn't run out doesn't mean it's not full. What done with the little screwdriver? Lost it already, I only just had it. There she is, hiding on me. Clear. Exactly what we want. And because it's the last one, I'll do this up, and then I'll put my socket away, and that way I know that I've done them all. As I said, if you find your socket out, just as a rule of thumb, just go, oh, I better recheck that, just for your own peace of mind. Let's do another quick glove change. So if your steering dampener has grease points, grease your steering dampener, grease your front tail shaft, grease your rear tail shaft, and grease your rear shackles and pins. And also your steering stops, which I'll do in a sec. Any other questions? I know Alex McCaffrey seems to be having some dramas doing his oils. So when I was saying before about greasing steering stops, I should have waited with my other gloves. You can just get yourself a thumb full of grease, which I'll do now. Now it can be, look, wheel bearing grease, moly, it doesn't really matter. Wheel bearing grease is quite tacky. You don't want too much of it. I'll probably grab too much. Where are we looking? We'll go, actually, that one just there. So all you want to do is just a little bit on the stopper and a little bit just on the diff end. That way when the wheels are turned on full lock and you're going over bumps and all that sort of stuff, you're not getting that squeaking noise and all that bad stuff. Which does that, or even just clunking, you know, full lock clunk as you go over. So when you check your brakes, make sure your calipers have their bleed nipples on them. Oh, this particular car, here we go, look at this. Oh, this has the terrain tamer. Oh, swivel housing bleed valve. So if you do pump your grease in through here and it fills up this cavity too much, it can pop out of there. Maybe it's not working. No, I don't think it's got anything to do with that. I think it's just the leftover grease from the sewer hub rebuild. So if you can see that steering stop just there, when you turn it, that steering stop makes contact with the diff housing, and any sort of, you know, movement that it may get sort of frets there, it just sort of hits there. Oh. All right, so what else have we covered? Oh, here. Underneath at the front, we can look at things like power steering. Power steering reservoir, which is just there. It's a little bit wet. It's not pouring out. It's worth noting. Might just need a seal kit, like a reseal kit. Oh, camera's doing something funny. Engine mounts. Make sure engine mounts don't have any signs of lots of moving or anything like that. The other end mount there looks good. So the back of the bottom hose there looks like a bit of coolant corrosion coming out of it. Front bump stops to the diff, front bump stops in the spring. They're all there. Don't know where that spider went. Radiator kit's in place. Everything else looks pretty good under here. I don't think we've missed anything, have we? Is it a rear sway bar? No rear sway bar on this particular model. Shocks aren't leaking. Everything looks quite good. I will grease those. I'll grease the steering and the grease joints on the steering dampener and the front tail shaft and the shackles and pins and all that sort of stuff. It's just, I'm running out of time already. You know, it's just probably too much mucking around for. Now, let's come down a little bit. I'll leave the wheels off because I still have things to do afterwards, but I'm sure I've forgotten something now I think about it. When we're greasing the steering components, you just want to do a small amount. You don't want to go too hard. You just want to. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer on this one. So on your steering, you're pretty much going to have one on each end of your relay rod, and some cars will have them on the tie rod, not always. But just for the exercise, you just sort of want to put a few pumps in, just so it starts to, the boot starts to fill up. And that's it. And then you leave that. And then you do the other side and do your tie rod ends. You don't want to pump heaps and heaps and heaps in. Just enough to move the boots. Check diff oils, check brakes. As I said, I'll check the brakes on the other side. I'll take the wheels off later on. This is just we've done one side, so that's, you know, enough for the moment. Now, give you some height. Sounds like someone's got a dyno going. All right, now when it comes to the engine bay, you want to check your things like your belts and your hoses. All your fluid levels. Make sure there's no leaks, anything like that. Washer bottle fluid level, brake fluid level, clutch fluid level, change your fuel filters. If your battery's got serviceable caps, check your water level in your battery. Anything visual, so all your rubber hose connections, you want to check all of those. If you do enough of your own servicing, this is a handy little, it's like a hygrometer. You put that in your brake fluid and your clutch fluid, and it tells you your level of cactusness. Now, I can't see if you can see that, so let me get my, no you can't. So get my other camera. There you go. So can you see the lights on this? You can, great. So that's half worn. You got the clutch fluid, same. Now the clutch fluid actually needs a top up, so does the brake fluid. So you tell the customer clutch fluid's, you know, probably due next service. The brake fluid's also due next service. That's the only problem with 78 series. Once they went to the where you didn't have to take the front brake hoses off to do the wheel bearings, I think it's slackened a lot of people off doing brake fluid changes, because brake fluid's every 40,000 or 2 years. Now, if you ever spill brake fluid, water. Water dissolves brake fluid. And I'll hose the engine bay later on, so that'll hose this stuff off. Brake and clutch fluid done. Now when you're topping up your coolant, you don't need to use coolant. You can just use a bit of water. Obviously, if you've run out of coolant and it's just water, then you maybe want to consider doing a proper coolant change. So with our radiator, I'm going to pull your cap. Now I think, well, this cap here, I think the seal's just come off its little housing bit when it was tight then as I got it off. But what you want to do is you want to check this rubber here. Make sure that's not perished. Make sure the little valve at the front is operational. But if that rubber overhangs this metal piece, usually it means your cap's worn out. With that bit of rubber that's just come off the cap, I'd say it's just twisted it off because it was a bit dry and tight. You can, I can't see. I'm actually paying attention to this, not the camera. Sorry. I think this, I don't know. Yep, so that's all back in now. I think it just gripped. The rubber was stuck to the inside of the cap and just popped itself out. It's not swollen, it's not ripped, it's not stretched. It just pulled itself out. Yeah, so that's your little recovery valve. And that's the distance. You want to make sure that's not overhanging too much there. That's okay at the moment, but probably wouldn't go too much further. This is probably due for a coolant change. It's a bit sort of cleary green. Now the coolant, even though it's green, there is some coolants that are Toyota rated that is green. So just because it's green doesn't mean it's not Toyota approved coolant. Overflow bottle. Yeah, look, it's full, but it probably does need a change. Radiator, what is it? Power steering cap is a bit sweaty, but the reservoir doesn't look that old. You can actually replace these caps. It's not bad. Definitely seen a lot worse. It's got a cold and a hot line. Yeah, so you can see where it's sweating past that seal on the bottom there. Just give it a wipe, put it back in, note it down. Power steering cap sweat. It's not a major deal, it's not leaking anywhere, it's just a bit of a sweat. It could have been once, you know, if the power steering was worked hard and got hot. Air filter, washer bottle. Now washer bottle's nice and blue, which means it's got plenty of washer stuff in it. For the exercise, we'll put some in it. It's not tomato sauce. All right, so airbox. There's your little vacuum hoses here. Make sure they go back on. Cap, 1, 2, 3, lifts up. Now, if you can't stretch it enough, you can undo that and it moves out of the way. Otherwise, you should be able to just squeeze it out through there. Now, this is actually a very clean air filter by the looks of it. But it's in for a service, so we'll put an air filter in it. It's been a while. And it comes with the filter kit. Like if it was absolutely immaculate, you could put it as a spare. Oh, it actually has changed a bit of colour. Same brand. Train tamer. And make sure when you put these in, you don't jam these little rubber hoses in. I've seen that happen a few times. One, 2, cap. Now, when you're doing this stuff, you want to sort of scour the engine bay while you're there. you know, check your surroundings, ugh, all that sort of stuff. So, for example, this rock cover is hosing out down the back there. This, that's actually very soft, which is great, but I would say that the clamps are a bit, here you going. So I would probably pull these little old spring clamps off, I just recommend it, and replace them with proper hose clamps, because it can sneak past. And make sure your hose joints are good for your heater hoses. Make sure your hoses are nice and supple and soft, they're not crunchy. Check all your, you know, manifold nuts and bolts, make sure they're at least got extractors on it. Make sure there's no missing nuts and bolts anywhere. We want to check condition of our belts. These belts look like they're all brand new. You know, it's got a train tamer kit on it, so the viscous coupling's good. You know, there's no time belt sticker, so you maybe question when was the time belt done last. Don't forget, I've done a video on this too. The old bug catcher. Works a treat. Now this is located on the bottom of the airbox, held with 2 clips. And it's just got that's a really basic rubber valve on the bottom, just here. Just a bit of material. Any water that comes in can just go out through that little hole. Oh, even air, I suppose, you know. There's a locator, so make sure your locator is on the right side. Make sure they're not stuck under there like that when you clip them on. Now, getting it off one hand was easy, I don't know about getting it back on one hand. I've done that before. All right, fuel filters. Grouse, my favourite thing. When you're doing your fuel filter, you want to make sure, let's see if I can get you in a better spot. Here. You want to make sure that your link hoses are in the right way. Sorry. So you got fuel hose in from here at the back, then it comes out through here into the back of this one, and then from this one down through over the top and into your fuel pump. So you just want to make sure they're not mixed up, because you wouldn't believe how many times people go, oh, which way do these go again? Now, there's no real trick to this. It's more, you do one at a time. I don't mind doing one at a time. So you can leave, if you're unsure, you can leave, they're down here. Have I found a problem? I think I have. I reckon, looking at that there, oh, hang on. Sorry, I had that wrong. Fuel in. This one. Out this one, into the primer, out the primer and across. I didn't see the join. So from the tank into here, because I just thought there's an arrow on top of this filter. I'm like, oh, they've got the bypass, the link hose on back to front, but it's not. It's out of this filter, into the primer, out of the primer, across, and then down. I thought that hose went down the bottom. Anywho, even the best of us make mistakes sometimes. I don't understand why it's got a finger clamp for that one. Oh, yes I do. Yes I do. No I don't. No I don't. I thought, wow, that was really smart, Toyota. You can't mess it up that way, but they didn't. Pop that one off there. Pop that one off there. Get ourselves a 12 mil socket. I think I've done a video on these fuel filters before. About the spring and the little clamp set up. Spring and washer. Nah, that chassis rust it's been like that for years, mate. That's just surface rust. The only ones I've ever seen real big chassis rust are like X-minors and things like that. All right, now I have to try and take you with me without making a mess. Walk this way. Oh no, where's it gone? All right, this is our little diesel drainerer. So if I can whack you there. Hang on, sorry, I'm trying to adjust this. All right, so I think the 14 at the bottom of that. 12 or 14. Now always pay attention to where your spring and washers are on this. Oh, this will make a, I might have to put this in the vise. One moment. Put the filter in the vise, just the housing, just to crack that 14 at the bottom. I thought it might have been okay to do by hand, but it is not. All right, here we are, back. So we want to undo this. Now at the same time that bolt is spinning with the housing. Oh, not anymore, it was. Now there's an O-ring at the top there. There's an O-ring there. Push that through. Wowee. What do we have there? Look at that. I don't even know what that is. Now, I'll try and keep this. So there's another O-ring here for the bottom of the filter. So you've got 2 O-rings. One at the top of the filter, one at the bottom of the filter. Then you've got your washer inside, and then you spring under your washer. Now I can pop that off. And then there's another O-ring on the bottom of the bolt. So we've got 4 O-rings. Just remember that, because a lot of people don't realise how many O-rings these have got. There's your spring, and there's your washer. If you're missing them, call me. I've got heaps. So, let's put those out of the way. I don't know what that is on the bottom. Some sort of mould, algae? No, it's not algae, it's not rubbery enough. Just some sort of sediment, rusty sediment. That's why I like to replace my filters every service, because you don't know what you come in contact with. When you're out and about, you know. And this could just be from any servo. I'm just going to grab some, that was degrees, I'm going to grab some brake cleaner. The good stuff. Much better. Now grab a rag. Great, all right. So now we've got our bowl, our bolt, it's a banjo bolt, our washer and our spring, our top housing. I'll meet you at the bench. Now if I plop you back on here, just want to get your O-ring at the top. Give it a wipe out. You see? Yeah, yep. So, you get your filter. And there's your 4 O-rings. Don't forget your 4 O-rings. Pry the one out of there. Because some filter, when you buy like aftermarket filters, they only come with the 2 little round ones for the filter itself. They won't come with these ones. So we'll go one on there. And the small one is actually a shaped O-ring. It's flat on the bottom, domed on the top. Flat down. Make sure it sits in all nice. Bolt. Washer seals. Spring. Washer. O-ring. Filter. O-ring. Housing. Now you try and spin them all together, you're not going to get that chewed bottom housing like it did before. I mean, you're obviously going to get something. Now all those O-rings, nothing's really going to move except for that bottom one. You could put a little something on them, but usually find that it's not applicable, especially the top one, because the top one just pushes, the other three push. The only one that really turns a tiny little bit is that bottom one. And that's it. And I don't like putting stuff on them either because it's easy to tell if they leak. But look, really, they never leak. That looks good. O-rings in the bin. Back over to Filter Town. Now I suppose I could, this filter's done, so I could probably leave it over there to make it easy to get this out. Because the hardest thing about this one, usually, is the plug for the water sensor. Can you see that? There's a plug at the bottom for the water sensor. It's got a little tab, push, pull, sensor's off. I'll show you in a second. Always remember to put your plug back in, especially on the V8s. If you don't put your plug back in on the V8, you'll end up with a fuel light on. One, two. Now that hose can stay on there because it's just the link hose. The other hose is just a finger spring hose. Loosen that off a little bit. Go with the pliers. If it is a nice enough hose, it'll just push off. So you can tell it's been done regularly. If it's not, they'll be an absolute nightmare. So realistically, other than that front rear uni, rear tail shaft, front uni, nipple being a bit of a pain, the sway bar bush is starting to wear just a little bit in that rock cover leak. It's looking all right. This up. So there's the wire I was talking about. Usually undo that first, make it easier. Oh, spilling fuel. Now, before I head to the drainer, what I usually do is I open up the vise enough just to clamp that bottom water sensor, just enough so you can give it to loosen it. Fingers crossed, the top one is loose as well. All right, great. I'll see you, Danny. Otherwise, you'd be swearing and cursing and all sorts of stuff. I'll take you down on this thing, but it's got too big a footprint. All right, so beautiful. All right, now with these, pretty straightforward. Under your water separator, your water sensor, there's an O-ring on the bottom of this. Looks pretty clean. There's your little float. Because I already pre-loosened it, because if you don't, you have to try and walk over the vise with this all leaking everywhere and it's a bit painful. Now this one isn't as easy to determine whether it had a heap of crap in it. It looks pretty clean in there, which is a good sign. Note the deep dish on the top, which is the turbo filters. There's a bit of junk in there, see that? Wonder what that was. Anywho, I'll grab my new filter. And look, that contamination isn't major. Like it's, you know, it seems like regular stuff you might see over the period of a certain amount of Ks. New filter, you can give it a new O-ring. Now these don't have to be super tight. Tighten it by hand. One, just do it up as tight as you can by hand pretty much and that's it. Leave it at that. You should be able to peel this O-ring off. Oh, I can hear an ice cream truck. Roll it into the position there. Nice way around. Same deal with this. Don't have to do it back up in the vise. That's it. Back in a moment. apologies for the delays and stuff, but look, it's actually easy for me to do a live than what it is to record a video, edit it, sit at home, trying to nut it all out. So I figured it's easier to have a live that you can watch than nothing at all, I suppose. Any feedbacks? Good feedback? Just give the filter a bit of a wipe. It's going to get degreased anyway. Always remember to plug it back in. Always. How much trouble? Yep, you're all good, you can see me. Now, if you've got enough length, you can plug it back in first. And that way it's done. Don't have to worry about it. Upside down blackboard. Not many people that understand that. If you do get it, tell me what it's off. I can't do it one hand. Who am I kidding? There we go, job done. Feed it back down there. We want to get two. Started. This car's spent a lot of its life outside, probably I'd say all of its life outside. The paint's faded on the guards, bonnet, roof. And you don't have to be a hero with all this stuff, just just firm, that's all you need. Now that's on, we'll put the other one back in because we're gonna have to prime it. So, I reckon these are in back to front. You know that? I was thinking about it before, I'm like, it's not the way I took them out though, but I reckon they are. And even if they're not, my OCD's telling me they are. The reason why I say that is two are longer than the others, only by a couple of threads, it's not much, and two have got big washers on them. It's got a bigger washer and it's a couple of threads longer. And just then when I put the smaller washer one on this, it didn't sit it properly. I'll show you in a second. It didn't sit how I thought it would sit. So, see how that fills up that circle a lot more than this one does? And then that sort of overhangs a little bit. That's what told me it was the wrong one. So I'll just swap that over, not a big deal. I mean, look, that would work anyway. I don't think there'd be any point of failure where it's like, that wrong bolt caused this failure. So as you're doing, like as I'm doing stuff like this, I'm always casting eyes around, looking for something else that might be loose, rusty, broken, missing, needs tidying, just something. Checking Welsh plugs for leaks. That oil leak at the back's a perler. Now, we could just throw a socket on it and see, it might just be a loose rock cover. 2, 3, 4. I always like to just count those things in my head usually, just so I know that I've done the 4 that are required. That way I'm not missing any. So what we're going to do, the supply hose that goes to the pump we're going to leave off for the minute, and we're going to put the feed lines back on. And that would explain why the water separator had more shit in it, because it's the first line of contact. Up she comes. That one's on. Now, the fun part. Finger over the one tube pipe that's left off this primer and pump, and then gradually take your finger off and let it pff, pff, pff. Can you hear that? And what we're doing is bringing fuel up from the tank, slowly filling the water separator, and we'll fill the primer. I can feel it coming up the line. And once you get that first little spray out of it, you can pop the other line on, and that'll pretty much eliminate any cold start, run, stalling issues. So I was just putting my finger over that hole there. It won't suck it back up now, usually that it's all the way up there. So close. There you go, dribble, dribble. Job done, put the hose back on, and that'll start first go, and it won't stall. Bang, put that one back on. And just give it a couple of, for good measure. Now we're still got an oil filter to do and fill it up with oil. Now I really need to find a worn out belt, but I don't think I have any, just to show you what to look for when you're checking your belts. Let me grab a new belt. And it'll give you an idea of what to look for. Now this just be any old belt. Actually, I'll show you, there's 2 different sorts you'll probably come across. This is just an old one that's been sitting on the shelf. Favorite belt, you want to make sure that when it's looking on the inside, so around the pulleys, like that, the inside doesn't have any cracks or wear, splits, anything like that at all. It just wants to be nice and smooth like this. You won't see any wear on the outside, it'll all be on the inside. Now, a lot of these belts are like a V-rib belt with little, I don't know what you'd call them, little perforations. And on an FZ, they actually don't have those perforations because they run a pulley off that surface. And if you run the perforated, I'm trying to think of the word, sorry, the slotted belt, they actually make a whining noise. It sounds like a supercharger, like that. Now when you run these belts, what you want to do, same deal, check the inside, make sure there's no splits in between those grooves. So it's the same as the other belt, it's just these ones, don't know why, do they allow them to flex more, close up more? I don't know. But I do know if you run these on an FZ and these little ribs run on the front pulley, they make a horrible whining noise. Now for you VDJ owners, as I said, with the same process really. You'll have a multi-rib belt. Like that. Now you want to make sure you don't have any cracks in any of these ribs, and the cracks go long ways. As you spread it open, they'll all be long cracks. So I'll cover that on another video. One day I'll do a VDJ. Actually, I've got one over there. We'll check belts and pulleys and stuff, but there's just so many things that you can check. Or you know, even to physically check. It's really hard to get in there with a camera, especially while I'm talking here. So I'm almost worth saving, explaining it now, but then doing a job on that particular thing on a different time. Otherwise it's 5 hours to do a service, which is unrealistic. Now, I've been dreading this. Oil filter, pain in the ass. Especially when you've got dual batteries on one of these. Right there, actually this isn't too bad. Some have a lot of room taken up here by other stuff with these dual batteries. This has got a neat wiring set up on it. So when you undo this, it's going to run down the block onto the floor, and then sometimes you have to lift it up and out, and it gets caught here and the oil goes everywhere, especially when it's hot. Actually, you'll see that on my video with the Blue Troopy when I did the oil change on that. Same deal. So this one, I need something to stand on. And because I'll be leaning over it a lot. Where have all the cowboys gone? Actually, anyone else hear that music? It's like an ice cream truck. How would an ice cream be right now? Now I reckon because I'll be leaning over this thing with my belt on. Sometimes you can do these by hand to undo them, because I only ever do them up. Oh, yes. Oh. Or is it just that gorilla strength? You never know. Always put a tray underneath for your oil filter drain, because if you don't, it's going to pour everywhere, and if you do, it won't. Make sure you get it under the right spot, because I've put them under before and it hasn't been in the right spot. So it defeats the purpose. So what I usually like to do is undo it a couple of turns, watch for the oil to run down the block. Once I start to see the oil leaving the chat, oh, this is going flat, of course it's going flat. Make sure it's dripping in the tray. Actually, I can see it great. Now, what I've done is I've undone the filter and I've turned it upside down so it faces up, stuck my finger in the hole, and I'm going to pull it up and out, like that. And I've virtually made no mess. There's a first for everything. Also, if you've got a good anti-drain back valve, will do that. All right, now, before I put the new filter on, what you want to do is just give that surface area. A lot. All the way around. Like so. Sit these back up there. Move my light before it gets left in there. It needs to go on charge because it's flashing at me. Oh, let me guess, it's not a... No, it's not. One moment. I'll put this on charge before I forget. Oh great, the charger's broken. Of course it is. Alright, so I need another charger. Awesome. I'd say that's what broke it. It was plugged in the charge, hanging on the wall, and it's fallen off the wall and bent the charger. Anywho, back to the lecture at hand, as Dr. Dre would say. Now these already come pre-oiled. Nice. Now lower it down. You don't want to touch that surface on anything to contaminate it before it's on. Spin, 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 spin. Oh. Oh, hand tight's all you need. Now, oil cap off. Try and kill myself. Okay, so with the oil cap, I've covered this before, but I'll tell you again. That cap wears. Where's my... As you can see, that groove there, all the way around, is not... See, you can see it better there. That groove isn't supposed to be there. So that's a consumable item, that O-ring. And would you believe it, got them on the shelf. So if you need one, what's that website again? Need some sort of jingle. cms4x4.com.au. Alright, so just want to get a pick, bash it in there without stabbing a hole through your hand. And trying to just dig it out. It's like the O-ring we saw before. See that massive groove in it? That's from people just reefing that oil cap on when it doesn't need to be. Just got to do it up, squash the rubber a bit, job done. So consumable part. Here's one I prepared earlier. No, actually it's not. I have to go and get it. I actually didn't think this one would need it. Boy, was I wrong. Oh, and the bloke that asked a question before about the chassis rust, wait to see my work ute. It's got all the surface rust. So yeah, same as the fuel filled one. Domed bottom, flat top. Domed bottom goes into the cap and the flat top is at the top. Just push it on. That, beautiful. Now, whenever you're doing oil work, always plop that there. That way, you can't shut the bonnet with your oil cap off. Now this requires, I'm only doing this to give you something to look at, 11.5 litres of oil because it's a HZJ79. Now we're going to run some 15W40. CK4, I think it is. I mean, look, it's way too good for this car, but she'll be right. And it doesn't matter, I found with HZ, it doesn't matter what you do, you cannot keep them clean. I've changed them every 1,000 Ks to try and keep them spotless and all that sort of stuff. Nah, doesn't work. They're putrid. Doesn't matter what you do, they're just putrid. Whereas a direct injection HD FTE, 1VD, all that stuff, you can get them mint and you can change oil every 5,000 Ks and they're still see-through, it's grouse. So what I'll do is I'll do the first one. It says 5.5 in that one. And I'll do 6 in this one. And that would tell me that's 11.5 litres. But I'll get this one pre-poured, that way it can drain out of this head of this oil pump whilst I'm pouring the first one. 6 litres. Oh, g'day. Now we'll spin you right round. There we go, back to there. In the hole we go. Now some engines are slow fill, so be careful how fast you fill, especially a 2H. 2H you fill the whole rocker cover up and then start spewing out everywhere. Good arm strength for these ones. And the good thing is by the time I let the first 5 settle, it'll be drained out of the rocker cover before it I fill the next lot up. I mean, if you went too fast, you could fill the rocker cover up, it'll come in through the PCV and then into the intake manifold. Get rid of that. The other good thing about a glow plug car is as a bit of a nice gesture for your car, we can just crank it to fire straight away, because any non-glow is going to give us ample oil pressure building time, which is really clever. You can hear it run down to the sump. Alright, there we go. Now, as I said, I'm sure there's something I've forgotten. It'd be something silly too. All right, so new oil cap on, just a gentle, that's it. Now while I'm here, before I started, I'm going to get my 10mm out and see if those rocker cover bolts are tight, because the black HZ rocker covers are actually new ones, which tells me it's not that old. They're not aftermarket or anything, they are genuine. It's just that's the colour they are. Tight, 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 tight. Might just need a new gasket. Or it could all be coming out of that PCB. But I'll have to wash it, hot test it, to work out where it's coming from instead of assuming. That's what I mean, like I've still got a lot of things to do. So as I said, I'll take the wheels off the other side, I'll check the brakes on that side, I'll grease the tail shaft, grease the front tail shaft, grease the steering components. I don't think there's anything else I noticed in the engine bay. If there is, I can tell you. Yeah, so it's just a matter of just checking, you know, Welsh plugs for leaks, nuts and bolts missing, oil leaks, coolant leaks, anything that stands out that's not supposed to be there. That's a pearler of a rock cover leak. Anything rubbing where it's not supposed to be rubbing. But it looks pretty good. All right, let's fire up. As I said, I'll try and do a no glow for oil pressure building purposes. These things are pretty grouse anyway, but why not? We're here. We should see the oil up when I do this right. That would make sense. Sounds like the lift has got a bit of clearance. Valve shim. That's quiet down now. Interesting. That was just a gentle tick for about 30 seconds after startup, which could be a slight valve shim clearance too big when it's cold, and as it reaches that, you know, it's not long of running, but that valve will be getting hot straight away from combustion. You know, is it a little bit of heat getting in from that, or is it oil feeding to the top? But I doubt it, because I just covered the cam in oil, but it's gone now. I wonder what that tick could be. And also notice that no glow, it just started straight away. That was a strange little tick, because normally, like, they're not hydraulic lifters, they're a bucket shim type. And normally if it's got a, normally they don't have too much clearance, but this is probably could be set with slightly more clearance when it's cold, because it will close the gap when it warms up. But it might just be that tiny little bit, and as the heat just first starts getting into it, it'll close the gap enough to tick. I don't know, it's a strange little, it doesn't concern me, but it sounded like it was about here, which just could be a shim that needs to go up a size. It could have a 2.5, it needs to go to 2.55 or something like that. Like, it's just enough so it's dead cold, it starts up. I'm curious to know what it sounds like the next start. Or is it just the fact that it's been sitting? Because this one I didn't actually warm up to drain the oil. So this has been sitting for 2 days with no oil. Like, I was no oil in the top end. It's all just sat in the sump, and that was the first start. So it's all out, oil out. Filter was empty too, so I would have had to fill the filter up and then run to the top. But I'm still surprised it was ticky, because all of the all of the oil that was recently just added to the top. But it could still just be oil feed to the cam. I don't know, it's weird. Not concerning, just strange. Yeah, let's just call it lazy oil pressure build maybe. It's got 450,000 Ks on it. As I said, doesn't sound concerning. It's like knock, 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 knock. It's a little. I'd be curious to know what it does after sitting overnight with a full oil filter. That's pretty good. I'll leave that. So oil's check, water's check, does need a coolant change actually. Power steering fluids check, batteries aren't serviceable. Had a look over the motor, everything looks good. Belts are good. The belts would have gone on with the cooling system, I'd say. Brake and clutch fluid will be due next service. Washer bottle's done, all the filters are done. What have I forgotten? It's because I'm on camera. What have I forgotten? I've got to do that stuff underneath. Anything else underneath that anyone wants to know about? What have I forgotten? Wheel bearings due for repack every 20,000, but you're not going to, the only way to check the rears is by pulling an axle out. So usually to say to the customer, hey, when was the wheel bearings done last? Would you like to, you know, do you want to check them? Do you want to not check them? Leave it up to the customer. Then that way I've done my thing by bringing it to their attention. Standard service, yeah, check wipers, check lights. Belts, hoses, coolant, power steering fluid, brake fluid, clutch fluid. Check clutch master cylinder, check all diff, gearbox transfer case, fluid levels, condition. Tail shaft play, front diff play, transfer case play, grease unis, caster bushes, tie rod ends, relay rod ends, shackles, pins, check leaf spring bushes, U-bolts, shocks for leaks, shock bushes, any weeps around the car. That's the main stuff you do on a basic service, you know, you're not getting too involved in doing anything else. You're just checking, bringing things to attention, do things need to be done on the next big service. Any questions while we're here? How are we travelling for? Whoop, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? I think it's about it. Any other questions anyone wants to know about anything else while I'm here before I go? What else have I done? Heater tab. When you're in the car, you know, when you pull up, make sure you turn the heat, make sure heater controls work, directional controls work, your fan works in all 3 speeds or 4 speeds, depending on what sort of car it is. You know, anything like when you put your foot on the clutch, is the clutch squeaky? You know, just note that stuff down. Is the brake pedal low to the floor? Does the clutch release too high? If the clutch release is high, it could be a worn clutch. If it releases too low to the floor, it might need adjusting. If it releases too high, it could need adjusting also, but usually that's the signs of a worn clutch if it's been adjusted correctly. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think we've covered everything. We'll do another video soon. Yeah, all right. That's me on this Sunday afternoon. And if I've forgotten something, don't criticise me too much. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do it all on the fly here. You know, it's Sunday, shouldn't be working. Anyway, oh, you can't even see me. What am I doing? That's why you got me here. I can't even see. There we go. Yeah, let me know anything else you want to see me doing. I've had some good feedback about the live videos. I know they're not as good as an edited cut video. I understand that. But to edit and cut, for me to make that video like that and go for like 20 minutes would take
longer than what it has now. So at the moment we're running at, wrong one. We're running at 146 minutes. So it's over 2 hours. So it'll probably take me 3 hours to do a service. Then I've got to spend another 5 hours trying to cut that down, edit it, voice over it if I have to. I mean, look, they do make great videos when they're done, but I'm so time poor. That's why I'm just doing the lives. That said, no one said to me, that's shit. I mean, you could be secretly thinking that. And that's the thing, so I've still got things to do left on this. I still have to pull the other side wheels off, grease everything. But at least you guys get the point of what needs to be done and what needs to be looked at and what needs to be checked. For your own good, I suppose. I always use train tamer filter kits. Do occasionally use secure filter kits. They seem to be okay. Apart from the DPF VDJs, everything goes, 1540. CK4 goes into the HZs, the FTEs, the VDs. You can put your flash lube stuff in your fuel tank. The train tamer does come with a service sticker and a washer. I just use the genuine one. I think this is a genuine washer, but I just grabbed one off the shelf while I was there before. And I think I've run out of stuff to clean. I don't know if I like this coupling on this grease gun actually. I might try and find something a bit smaller. 7 people watching. No one's going to ask me a question. But I'm talking jargon. Or it's just because you've got nothing else to do. Anything else I could talk about on this? It's got a JRP water temp gauge on just a water temp with low, no, it hasn't got low coolant. It's got a red arc low coolant. JRP, I think it's got water temp and water pressure from memory. It was one of their prototypes. But it's good for water temp. The water pressure, I think, was still in teething phases at the time. Recycling. G'day, Igor. How you doing? Yeah, all right. That'll be me, I think. Hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. Enjoy your Sunday. I'll keep going with this and do the other bits and pieces. I might even do it tomorrow. I'm running out of steam. And yeah, hope you enjoy your weekend. Feel free to comment. I can still answer comments later. Have a great day. Doing stuff with Dan. How do I stop?